Okay, guys, so welcome back. In this particular PowerPoint, we're going to talk about how raindrop technique works. Now, we wish to protect you and Young Living and Raindrop Australia from any potential litigation. So please do not use any of this particular slide or information in your advertising. What we're trying to do here is give you an overall science-based perspective on why essential oils combined with massage have specific effects on the body, okay? Now, we've also given you compliant wording that you can use in your advertising in your textbook. It's on page 187 of your notes, but we can also discuss further with you if you want to design your own pamphlets and things like that, and ways that you can actually promote your raindrop technique and your raindrop clinic. All right, so if you're unsure, the other thing that you can always do is contact Stephen Sade at head office and check with him for compliance if you're not certain about the wording that you want to use. All right, so let's get on to the good stuff. So raindrop technique is effective because firstly, it draws its power from the essential oils. And in the previous videos, we talked about how powerful they are. But then it amplifies this power. So if you think about it, we use so much oil, 100 to 140 drops. Now, remembering that 1 drop of peppermint oil is the equivalent of 28 cups of peppermint tea. Then we raise that frequency of the oil even higher by using 3 clockwise circles in the oil. It then directs that power using the VitaFlex technique to various parts of the body as piezoelectric pulses. And we also incorporate the massage techniques to work the essential oils into the muscles. It also purifies the body energetically by the cleansing effect of the raindrops on the back, physically through the cleansing effect of the oils on the body, and emotionally through the impact of the essential oils on the limbic region of the brain where we store memories and emotions, but also mentally through the uplifting and clarifying effect that essential oils have on the mind. So let's get specific. Let's look at how raindrop technique helps. It balances the body. Valor is the first oil used on the feet in raindrop technique, and we call it the rescue remedy of essential oils because it's so balancing. So is methyl shavicol, one of the constituents in Young Living's basil oil. See, most basil oil on the market is basil eugenol or sweet basil, which has an entirely different effect on the body. Then we have cypress and marjoram, which also help to relax and calm. In fact, marjoram is actually considered the herb of happiness and is used traditionally in funeral celebrations to help conquer grief. You can add other oils into your raindrop technique to deepen the experience of relaxation and letting go. You might consider oils such as lavender, vetiver, valerian, Roman chamomile, cedarwood, melissa, sandalwood, and rutavala. And we use oregano and thyme in raindrop technique because these are high in phenols. Now, phenols help maintain healthy pH levels in the body. So when a person's really stressed, they've got a lot going on at work, at home, relationships under pressure, teenage kids and they're fighting, having a baby, moving house, planning a funeral, buying a house. There's so many components that add stress to our body. Not eating properly, that creates acidity in the body. When we're highly acidic, the beautiful thing about phenols in essential oils is they help to maintain a healthy pH level in the body. It also invigorates the senses using the feathering technique that we use in Raindrop. It will bring the body into goosebumps. Now, what that does is it invigorates and stimulates the nerves. So the last 2 steps of feathering, which you'll learn in your practical training weekend, steps 4 and 5, they look like a fanning motion. And that step increases the energetic flow or the chi across the body, tracing along the meridians from the spine to the various organs of the body. It also facilitates emotional release because the aroma of essential oils can help release and balance our emotions. It's effectively like a detox of emotions. And it's because our sense of smell is the only one of our 5 senses which accesses the limbic system of the brain. It's where emotions and memory are stored, and I often refer to it as the seat of our soul. You will see here that the oil molecules breathe in through the nose, and from there they travel along the olfactory nerves. So I'm just going to get my mouse to highlight that. So we're inhaling here, and we're traveling along the olfactory nerves to the olfactory bulb at the top of the nose. Okay? The epithelium here are like little tentacles, like little sensors that draw up the aroma into the olfactory bulb. And from here, they travel to the amygdala, which is part of the limbic region of the brain. Okay? And here's your amygdala, this tiny little spot. This is the seat of our soul. It is in the amygdala that our memories and our emotions are stored. That's good memories and traumatic ones. Pretty fascinating, hey? So yes, essential oils and massage, Raindrop does all of that. What we've covered so far is just what we know about the effects of Raindrop technique on the body. There are many other benefits yet undiscovered. So you can understand why Raindrop technique is described as such a simple modality that is so powerful and changes people's lives. But let's have a look at what's really going on the inside using a live and dry blood analysis. So what you're going to see now are the effects of Raindrop technique on human blood. The slides from these 2 experiments that I'm about to show you are not included in your textbook. So it's really important that you just pay attention here and feel free to come back and have a look at it at any time you like. Remembering that we are just showing you from a science-based perspective how this is going to benefit your clients, but it's not something that you can advertise. So, for the following experiment, we performed a live and dry blood analysis on Artemis's mum, Janice. Artemis then gave Janice a Raindrop technique, and as soon as they were finished, they did another live and dry blood analysis. This was in order to see the effects of Raindrop technique on the blood. Now, at the time, Janice was 68 years young when this analysis was done and felt she was in reasonably good health. She had just been a bit tired. Let's first of all look at the few slides that set the scene for Janice's health prior to the Raindrop technique. So this slide here is a picture taken from Janice's blood. The live blood analysis is done by pricking the little finger, taking a drop of blood onto a slide and examining it under a microscope. This particular cell that we are looking at is a lymphocyte, which is one variety of white blood cell. The role of lymphocytes is to kill viruses. See how this lymphocyte is full of little white dots? Each dot represents a virus that this lymphocyte has gobbled up in order to deactivate it. The amount of viruses present in this lymphocyte tells us that Janice had recently had a viral infection. And it made sense as Janice was experiencing fatigue a few weeks prior to the experiment, and she was wondering if she was experiencing a recurrence of a Ross River fever. Now the second slide is of neutrophils. Neutrophils are another variety of white blood cell which are responsible for fighting bacteria. They show up in the blood as dull grey shapes. In a live blood analysis, the technician examining the blood will count the number of neutrophils to see if they are higher than normal. In this case, Janice had a lot of neutrophils in her blood. Because the numbers are elevated, this tells us that Janice was also fighting a current bacterial infection. And it made sense because Janice had a condition called bronchiectasis, which is a scarring on the lungs due to a past chest infection. It's where fluids build up in the lungs, and she is therefore more prone to constant low-grade chest infections, and finds herself coughing a lot throughout the day. This picture looks different to the last two because it's taken with a phase contrast filter. The previous slides used a dark field filter. These white circles in the blood are L forms, which are indicative of high levels of yeast or candida in the digestive tract. So from these three slides, we've just seen that Janice was fighting viral, bacterial and fungal infections in her body. We're now going to take a look at some before and after pictures. In the before slide on the left, we have a degree of clumping of the red blood cells. It's not too bad. We've seen a lot worse. So here you're seeing red blood cells kind of chaining. When this kind of clumping occurs, oxygen can't be effectively transported around the body. This affects all body systems and it will produce fatigue. After raindrop technique, on this side of the slide, we had no chaining occurring at all. This was extremely exciting as it tells us that raindrop technique supports healthy oxygen transport through the body. And it makes sense because remember I said that sesquiterpenes carry oxygen through the body and into the brain. Now here's our neutrophil activity. In this slide, we're looking at the activity of the white blood cells before and after. Now, while Janice and her immune system was in good condition, as evidenced by relatively strong, Janice's immune system was in good condition. But the important thing here is to notice that in this picture, we are looking at the activity. Now, under the microscope, this neutrophil was actually quite, strong in its movement. It had activity moving around. And then after the raindrop, but it was quite slow, after the raindrop technique, this neutrophil here was noticeably more active throughout the cells, okay? Now, in this slide, we are looking at inflammation. These white patches on the left are ROTS masses, and they are an indicator of inflammation in the lymphatic system. They're also an indication of oxidation, the result of free radical damage. What was most exciting is that after raindrop technique, these white patches were greatly reduced. See the large masses here and how much smaller they are. In the next slide, we're going to look up close at the ROTS masses using a phase contrast condenser. So this is inside that white mass that I highlighted to you before. These gaps between the red blood cells are the ROTS masses. Janice's ROTS masses were very large prior to the raindrop technique, as you saw in the last picture. These white dots, these white dots here, in the before picture are the L forms again, representing yeast in the blood. After raindrop technique, you can see that the ROTS masses are much smaller. They also have very little yeast visible, tiny little bit here and here. So that's telling us that it's reduced the inflammation, it's removed some of that yeast, gobbled it up, gotten rid of it, released it from the body, which is really exciting news. Reduction in inflammation, reduction in candida or yeast. But now let's look at adrenals. So right here on the left, this is before. This is another example of dry blood analysis. Now notice on the right here, this picture has white spots in it. The before example, without the white spots, is the pattern we see when someone is not producing adrenaline. This is what you would see commonly in someone who has adrenal fatigue even. Now, this is often because their stress levels have been so continuous that their adrenals have literally burnt out. And Janice agreed that she fitted into that adrenal exhaustion category because her husband, who has now passed over, but at the time of these photos being taken, he had had multiple strokes, was a high care invalid and suffered from dementia, and Janice was his full-time carer and rarely went to bed before 2 a.m. What was most exciting here is that after the raindrop technique, her body shows that she's producing adrenaline again. The mere fact that the adrenals are doing this is a sign that raindrop technique has had a calming effect on Janice and allowed her body's natural functioning to kick in. Now Janice just needed to get her stress levels under control so that she wasn't so constantly stressed. And of course, regular raindrop technique would be great for that because it's so calming to the whole body. This is why we talk to you guys about developing a wellness program for people in how they can calm their body and allow its natural functioning to kick in. Giving it a breather, giving it a rest. All right, in this slide, we're talking about colon toxicity. The dark patch in the center here, that's colon toxicity. Now, in Janice's case, it's very mild. However, there is a slight increase, if you look in the right picture, in the after picture, is increased colon toxicity. And you can tell because it's a little bit darker. Now, this makes sense because the calming effect of essential oils allows the body to relax. And when the body relaxes, it will often naturally release and cleanse itself. It's quite possible that we would see an even greater increase in the colon toxicity over the course of 12 hours or so following raindrop. Janice also had a headache after the raindrop technique, which is one of the indicators of a cleansing process taking place. And how did she feel after her raindrop technique? She said she felt fantastic. She had an enormous amount of energy and yet felt really calm at the same time. So let's look at experiment number 2, because there's one impact of raindrop technique we haven't addressed, and that is the spiritual and vibrational effects. How do we know that the positive effects occur? Because people will have shifts. They'll be aware of it. They will feel emotionally lighter. They will feel mentally clearer. They can feel different within themselves in a way that they can't ascribe specific wording. That's often a great spiritual shift. But how do we document something like that? You're going to love these slides. We've been able to document it using an aura camera. So what's an aura? The aura is the electromagnetic field that surrounds your body and which in certain lights may also be visible as a halo. It constantly changes in color and size to reflect your energy levels, emotions, and state of mind. But how is the aura photographed? Well, it's using technology from a lie detector test. This technology measures the changes in the frequency in your hands in response to different emotions. The aura camera takes this one step further by assigning colors to each frequency. And in order to work out the colors, gifted people who were able to see the aura were brought together to describe the colors they were seeing. These colors were then correlated to the frequencies in the hands, and programmed into the aura camera. Each colour has a meaning, and so the aura picture can be interpreted. So what do these photos have in common? Yes, they're all red. Notice that they're all quite small. Their auras don't fill up the whole screen. You can see that? And they're all highly stressed. This deep red and the small auras are the signs of that. It's what our aura potentially reflects when we are in a state of stress. Now this makes sense because Noel here on the left, he had been super busy. Pip was about to sit for an exam. Artemis had her father in hospital, and Mark had just been involved in a car accident. So let's see if raindrop technique can help Mark. But before we do that, just take a look at the colour bar on the left. So we have raw energy and adrenaline in the orangey red colours, focused energy, then thought and power in the yellow. Green and purple is representation of love and joy and healing, communication, intuition, and pure spirit. They are the colours of the 7 chakras, which are the energy centres in the body. The lower 3 are physical. These are located at the base of the spine and just below and above the navel. Then we come to the heart chakra, which is often depicted as green or pink, and it's the balance point. It's what connects to the upper 3 chakras. The upper 3 chakras represent our spiritual connection. These are the throat, the third eye, and the crown chakras. Now, during meditation, it's common to move from the lower chakras into the upper chakras. What's really interesting is that raindrop technique did the same thing. In everyone who was photographed, their energy shifted at least 1 colour vibration higher than when they started. We were interested to see the effects of each step of raindrop technique on Mark. So, just reminding you, this is how Mark looked when he first arrived. Notice after the valor balance, you can see a little bit of purpley pink starting to evolve here and a slight shade of orange coming through. Then after his Vitaflex, his aura has become even larger again. There's more of the screen being filled. There's a larger, darker, more vibrant pink. He's got pink around his heart and his face. He's got beautiful shades of yellow and orange around his chest and breastplate area. And as we have that beautiful rose pink around the throat and above his head, what that means is Mark was starting to connect with his heart just after Valor Balance and Vitaflex. Now, after he'd received Raindrop on his back, notice the differences. His whole energy field has moved from red up to orange. Orange is often associated with increased healthy energy levels and creativity. But also notice we've got the green light around his left arm here. Okay, you can all see that. Now, Mark was really excited to see that because green is traditionally the colour of healing, and the green light showing up above his right shoulder, which had been causing him some pain. So Mark got excited about that because he was realising that that pain had gone from his arm, but he was also able to quantify and measure it from the photograph that that was an actual thing that occurred from his raindrop experience. Now look at that picture here compared to the first one. Huge difference. In the first picture, you can see black around the outside of Mark's body, which indicates he was feeling very alone and withdrawn from life. And in the final picture, his body is surrounded with a colour, with so much colour, a sign that he felt joyful and connected with life again. It's a beautiful thing to see when we measure it this way. And it's often why people will just say that they feel amazing, even though they don't really know why. All right, but let's look at how Raindrop affects someone who isn't stressed. Notice we've gone in the before picture, we've got green and orange, but then the after picture, we're up to green, blue, and pink. So we've moved up the chakras. Notice that the pink sits over her heart area, indicating she's feeling a glowing joy in her heart. Notice that Samantha has gone from a dirty green with quite a bit of black around her body. And her, even though she's got quite a lot of colour there, it's still a dirtier green. But after the raindrop technique, her aura combines with the colours of the top three chakras, blue, violet, and white. Again, she has a lovely pink around her heart, which says she's feeling like she's connected to herself. And her aura is larger again after the raindrop technique and stronger in its colours. Very predominant rose pink there. So it's beautiful to know that we can create for people, depending on what they need, that's remembering that intelligence that we talked about, that the constituents will act intelligently based on what a person needs. But it's a wonderful way to bring them back to themselves, calm their body, and allow them to connect to themselves again. Her whole energy field was surrounded in the pink and the violet. So it's fair to say that these people felt pretty good after their raindrop technique. But why? Why does raindrop technique produce these changes? It's because it's so deeply relaxing and nurturing. It moves vital energy, which we often refer to as qi, through the body. Plus, we have the added high-quality essential oils transfer their living vibration to the body, all 140 drops of it.